Her words hit harder than any set of divorce papers ever could. "The kids will finally have a real father now," she said with a gleaming smile, standing in the marble lobby of his Manhattan penthouse. She held a crystal flute of champagne, surrounded by a world so polished it could have been cut out of a glossy magazine. My children clung to the hem of her dress. My son refused to meet my eyes. My daughter whispered, "By Daddy," like I was an afterthought. I walked out feeling hollow, stripped of my name, my pride, my place. That night, I sat in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by faded posters and dusty trophies that no longer meant anything. I should have wept. I should have begged. Instead, I went to the attic. Dust and cobwebs clung to the air. Forgotten trunks lined the walls. In the far corner, an old leather briefcase sat waiting, my name engraved on a brass plate. I kept the key to it on a chain around my neck since I was 12. The lock opened with a click. Inside wasn't a birth certificate or family photos. It was my grandfather's will. My name was there as heir, not my father, not my uncle. Me. A fortune of $100 million. The company. The legacy. Buried for 20 years. I had always thought betrayal crept in slowly. Arguments, affairs, lies whispered at night. But that night, I learned it could also be deliberate, orchestrated over decades. Compared to what I just uncovered, my ex-wife affair was a paper cut. The knife in my back had been twisted by my own blood. My grandfather had raised me for a while. Those summers at his estate, lessons about honor, discipline, and keeping your word. He'd ruffle my hair and say, "Sometimes a family string skips a generation. You've got it, not your father." I thought it was affection. It was preparation. He'd seen my father for what he truly was, greedy, incompetent, weak. So he left everything to me. And my parents, my uncle, my cousins, they'd hidden it, lied to my face, fed me scraps while parading as heirs to a fortune that was never theirs. And my wife, she married me thinking I was a nobody, left me thinking she'd upgraded. But they'd all forgotten what my grandfather taught me. I still remembered. Pieces began to click together. Why had my father steered me into dead-end jobs? Why had my mother told me, "Your grandfather didn't leave much behind"? When I was 19, why did my uncle's children grow up in luxury, while I scraped to afford a 2-bedroom apartment for my kids? The will had dates. The executor listed wasn't a stranger, it was my father. He'd been entrusted with carrying it out. Instead, he buried it, stole 2 decades of my life. He and my uncle had gutted the company, bled it dry, used it as a plaything while posing as visionaries. I didn't rage. I didn't storm into their homes. I smiled. I nodded. I played along. Because vengeance isn't about shouting. It's about timing. The first move was silent. I contacted my grandfather's old lawyer. He wasn't senile. He remembered everything. The original will, my name, an illegal revision my father had filed with a forged signature. Forgery. Fraud. Embezzlement. Enough to destroy them. But leverage without patience is wasted. So I waited. My ex flaunted her new life on social media. Yachts, crystal flutes, designer suits. My kids posed next to her new husband. She wanted me to break. But I only watched. Because I knew soon she'd be the one at my door. I filed the will quietly in probate court. The storm began softly. Subpoenas landing on my father's desk. Auditors raiding offices. Accounts frozen. Stocks plummeting. Their house of cards started to shiver. 3 weeks later, I walked into the boardroom. My nameplate was already at the mahogany table. Not guest. Not son. Not divorce. CO. The documents were ironclad. The will was public. The heir had returned. My father sat across from me, pale and sweating. My uncle muttered curses. My cousins looked like kids caught stealing candy. And me? I leaned back in a leather chair, fingers steepled, calm as a loaded gun. But the sweetest moment came at the penthouse. She opened the door in silk. Her new husband smudged behind her. My children hesitated, torn between us. "Why are you here?" she sneered. "This is our home now." I handed her an envelope. Inside was a foreclosure notice. The penthouse wasn't his anymore. The company owned it. The company was mine. Her husband stammered into his phone, calling his lawyer. Her face collapsed, mascara cracking under the weight of realization. "You can't do this," she whispered. I smiled. It was already done. 20 years ago. I'm just here to finish it. Behind me, the driver waited with the car. My children slipped their hands into mine. No words, just trust rediscovered. Her husband shouted after me. She begged. I didn't look back. The doors closed on their illusion. Now I sit at my grandfather's desk, the city skyline burning gold through the glass. My father faces prison. My uncle, too. My cousins are broke, scrambling for jobs they once mocked me for taking. And my ex-wife? She traded a real father for a ruined man. I didn't win by accident. I won because I stopped being forgotten son, the abandoned husband, the quiet nobody. I became the steel my grandfather saw in me. Betrayal taught me this. Money can be buried. Names can be buried. But blood forged in fire can't be buried. They thought I was cleaning out my past in that attic. But I wasn't cleaning. I was sharpening. And tonight, as I signed documents worth more than the life she left me for, I whispered to myself, a real father provides, a real man endures, and a real heir never forgets. Justice isn't loud. It's precise. And it's permanent.